and hello, welcome to Godly Thoughts with Koma Tasi. Today we're reading from Ezekiel. I sometimes call that prophet Hezekiah. I don't know why. When I say Hezekiah, I'll be trying to say Ezekiel. Please, that's what I'll be trying to say. Okay, 15 verse 2, it says, how does grapevine wood compare to real wood? Is it any use after? The wood of a grapevine, is it any use? Can you use it for making fire? No, you cannot. If it grows in a forest, can people leave the trees and cut grapevine instead for firewood? They cannot. Because grapevines have only one use, to bear fruits, that is grapes. If they cannot bear fruits, which is grapes, then it is finished. Sometimes our relationship with God is like that too. Our simple purpose is to find out the will of God and do it, and to be effective for God. Outside God, we are really completely useless. Have you ever noticed that you are only important when you're doing God's purpose and God's will, but whenever you are not, you're useless? Have you ever noticed that there are some people who started glowing the moment they accepted Jesus, gave up on their bad habits, and started coming to church? Before that, no one ever really knew what they were useful for. There's sometimes where someone moves away from doing something and starts being useful for God. And you start noticing that they're dressing better, they're speaking better, they're more effective, they're more useful. Outside of God, they become completely useless. Outside of their purpose, grapevines really have nothing. I mean, you can't use them. I mean, what do you use them for? You can start a fire with a grapevine hood. I mean, it's just so too small and it doesn't burn for long and really just turns into ashes in a few minutes. There's nothing else they are useful for except for just bearing fruit. So sometimes think about it. God has use for you within himself, and you are only effective when you are in God. And when you try to do anything else outside of God, the world does not accept you as much as you thought they would. You are not as effective as you thought you would be. Try to think about it. It is only in God that we have that perfect purpose. We are respected as fathers to our children. We are respected as community members. We are respected as members of the Church of God. We are useful in church for God, but outside of God, we are nothing. Sometimes we forget that it is God who gives us our value. It is the Spirit of God who makes us to glow, who makes people to receive us and to accept us as who we are. Outside of that, we really can be nothing. God is sort of that do-over that we had when we were really messing our lives up and wasting ourselves. He is that do-over that we had. It's like, think about it. You have a radio, but you have no power or electricity at all. It's just nice to look at, but really, if you can't get the news or listen to your favorite shows, it begins to be a burden to carry it around from place to place. You may end up selling it. Inform too, a friend gave me a radio that had no power supply. It is those kind of radios that are bought in South Africa, and when you bring it over, you need to have what is called a power supply in order to use it in Zimbabwe, because the voltage in South Africa is different from the one that we have here in Zimbabwe. And that radio, I had it for many months, but I couldn't benefit from it because it just didn't play. It had no power supply. In the end, I just really gave it away because no one wanted to buy it without a power supply, because by that time the power supplies were really expensive. So I ask you, in God you have become this person that everyone calls man of God. In Christ you have become this person that people call father, call mother, that respect. You think you gain that same respect if you walk out of God? If you walk on God and become a regular drunk again, if you become an alcoholic again, if you become a prostitute again, if you become a serial gambler again, you think you still get the same respect you have in society? Some of our use and effectiveness is only witnessed or seen when we are in Christ Jesus. Let's not mess with that. Let us remain in Christ and become better at being a disciple of Jesus Christ. Otherwise, ciao and enjoy the rest of today.